Over 5 years ago, I posted a video playing Animal Crossing New Horizons that eventually became my most viewed YouTube video ever. I recorded it the first week of quarantine when we unknowingly jumped into a 2-year period where millions of us stayed isolated at home. During this time, many of us turned to gaming as we made the best out of the situation. While romanticizing staying at home and enjoying the comfort of it, we seek virtual worlds where we could entertain ourselves and safely socialize with our friend groups. This quickly gave rise to the concept of cozy gaming, an idea that was the result of the world's circumstances. Since then, cozy gaming has become a well-established community, but the lines have become blurred as it expanded. Because what qualifies as a cozy game? What makes this game cozy and others not? And what kind of games do cozy gamers actually play? Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Anna. I play a lot of video games and like to discuss them on this channel here. So I've been planning to do a video on this topic for probably months now, but I was just undecided on when to finally do it until I saw this video pop up on my feed.
Cozy gaming is just girly shovelware repackaged. But seriously, if we look at what happened in 2020 with Animal Crossing New Horizons bringing in such a big new gaming audience of a lot of women, of course the industry looked at that and said, let's make girly slop again. And it's so disappointing. It sucks to see in real time companies basically looking at their audience of women and being like, how can I take advantage of this without doing any work whatsoever? No innovation. Just slap a new skin on Stardew Valley.
So I saw this video pop up on my TikTok feed and decided, okay, this is my sign to finally make that video on this topic of cozy gaming because I have so much to say on the topic, and yeah, let's just get right into it. So starting with defining cozy gaming. What is cozy gaming? So I'm going to use this article that I found on gamesindustry.biz as a starting point to define cozy gaming. And keep in mind that this was written in 2022. Cozy games are generally regarded as featuring cute characters, often anthropomorphic animals or childlike humans, who engage in player activities such as farming, gathering, growing, and nurturing, with the vague goal of creative personalization and in-game socialization. But coziness is broader than farming and village planning. The essential nature of cozy gaming is that of helping other people through non-violent means, often by nurture and generosity. Self-expression is core to the game's progression goals, which tend to be open-ended. Socialization with NPCs or with other humans is important, and it's almost always of an agreeable nature. In cozy games, it's best to be nice. NPCs who are disagreeable in some way are usually played for comic effect. Aesthetics are usually, though not always, colorful or pastel-hued. Jolly, nursery-ish music tends to roll in the background. Peril is almost non-existent. So this is obviously a very sign of the times definition of what a cozy game is. And to reiterate, this was written in 2022, so it kind of sounds like they're just defining what Animal Crossing New Horizons is. So while I agree that this is a pretty stereotypical sign of the times definition of what a cozy game is, I think there are still a lot of characteristics written here in this definition that is heavily associated with cozy games today. When you ask someone, imagine a cozy game, they probably still have a lot of these things when they imagine what that game looks like in their head. And this article obviously intentionally starts with a pretty defined definition of what a cozy game can be, so it can take the rest of the article to unpack that definition a bit. So the article goes on to interview 3 developers of these so-called cozy games, and this is what they had to say about them. Coziness is the understanding that humans are social creatures. We strive to be part of a group and to be accepted. But being sociable can be difficult in the real world. It can be exhausting. In cozy games, the barriers come down. We can be part of a group without having to be stressed. The characters we meet are warm and welcoming, and it's an easier way to enjoy a fundamentally human feeling. Co-founders of the studio, Al Bloon, said, "People need a label right now so they can understand that the game is different. It's non-violent. But the label may disappear in a few years because it will be normal for everyone to play those types of games. People get depressed, and they need to relax. This has always existed in gaming, but it was a less marketable idea in the past. Now we recognize that it's an important part of playing games." Ali Ast of Sundew Studios says, "I spend a lot of time on Instagram with communities that love and celebrate cozy games. Sometimes it's surprising to find the kind of games that they celebrate. The latest Zelda game, Breath of the Wild, has combat in it, but people love the sense of exploration and just being in that world. Sometimes I see players talk about those same elements in Skyrim. In both cases, you spend a lot of time roaming around and enjoying the scenery, meeting people, crafting, and that's the feeling that cozy games give us, despite the combat." So the article goes on to say emotional resonance, pacing, pacing, and vibe are the most important features of a cozy game. And then the article kind of concludes saying that self-expression, creative freedom, and community are core pillars of cozy gaming. So in summary, you can say that cozy games are farming sims, they're life simulator games, they're offshoots of Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley. They have social aspects to it. They're non-violent, they're not like the other most popular shooter games that are played mostly by men out there. It's mostly a vibe, it's mostly a feeling, and it's an expanding genre. And I think this just kind of highlights the more we try to define exactly what cozy gaming is, the meaning behind its label has just been lost over time. So I want to go a little bit deeper into the evolution of cozy gaming as a concept. So I think it's really easy to say that coziness in gaming has existed since gaming was even a thing. You could argue that the first Pac-Man game was cozy. You can say that the first Mario game ever made was cozy. But I think the whole concept of cozy gaming didn't really exist back then, and it certainly wasn't known as it is defined today. Cozy gaming obviously blew up during the pandemic, right? And this makes a lot of sense. We were romanticizing staying at home. I think I remember seeing so many YouTube videos back then of my favorite YouTubers just producing videos that were titled like what to do at home when you have nothing to do, or 10 things you can do at home to have fun. We all wanted to romanticize staying at home because we really couldn't do anything. We couldn't go outside and go see our friends. So obviously we wanted to make home somewhere that was more comfortable for us and more of a fun place to be at. And as a result of being home all the time and wanting to be comfortable in your own space and being at home and really enjoying it, we started investing more into like our home setups, our offices, our living spaces. And gaming during that time obviously blew up as well because it was a perfect quarantine activity. We wanted to have fun at home while socializing with friends online, and gaming was a way to do both of that. And cozy gaming became seen as not just like a niche, but it was more so like a lifestyle and aesthetic. I think you can characterize cozy gaming a lot of the times with things like beautiful color-coded desk setups and office spaces, cozy spaces and nooks in the corner of your home where you can spend hours gaming, and just like the idea of being in blankets, being in the corner, just gaming for hours on end and really enjoying the comfort of that. I also noticed during this time that I saw a lot more people become gaming content creators, and this makes also a lot of sense, right? If you wanted to become a content creator, gaming was a great niche to do it in because you could do it in the comfort of your home. You didn't have to meet people outside. You didn't even have to go outside to create great gaming content. This Rolling Stone article writes, the rise in interest first began during the COVID-19 pandemic when everyone from middle schoolers to adults had plenty of free hours to spend on video games. According to Verizon, video game usage went up 75% during 2020. Around the same time, Animal Crossing New Horizons was released on Nintendo Switch and sold over 30 million units that year alone. Stardew Valley has also sold over 30 million units after a pandemic-era jump. Cozy gaming felt like a natural product of what was fun and accessible during the pandemic, so it's no wonder that it blew up. It was a way to romanticize being at home, not being miserable, being alone in your house all the time without seeing your friends. Gaming was a great, fun, and safe form of entertainment and socialization for people stuck at home, which was all of us. And I think for people who were newly into gaming during this era, cozy games offered a lower barrier to entry compared to games like Diablo, for example, right? Online communities centered around cozy games have seen exponential growth since 2020. Felicia W., a mod for the Cozy Gamers subreddit, says, I'm seeing a lot of women in their 20s and 30s, some in their 40s even, this different generation that's always liked gaming but never felt included, she says. So now they see this community where they talk about gaming and share pictures without being shamed or pushed out for their age or gender. So with the rapid rise of this idea of cozy gaming, a new community of cozy gamers became established, and this community could be distinguished and recognizable on its own as its own like kind of subculture within gaming. Kennedy, aka Cozy K, tells Rolling Stone that games that qualify as cozy or calming aren't new. What she believes is new is the community around these types of programs. Even the title of cozy games was community built. Before it felt like I'm just a person who happens to play games sometimes, and the games I personally like no one really talks about. And now it feels like there is a place in the gaming world for me to actually identify myself as a gamer. Now it's more of a communal experience. By the way, this creator that I just quoted, Cozy K, I'm actually a huge fan of her. I watch like all of her YouTube videos, and she's actually one of the first creators I ever followed within this like cozy gaming community, and I feel like she really like made cozy gaming a thing, like really popularized it. MW writes, I feel like a lot of us who are really into cozy gaming are kind of chasing that nostalgic feeling of the games we played as a child gave us, she says. We finally have adult money and are using that to be able to heal our inner child by creating our dream gaming setups to enjoy these wholesome games as a form of self-care and de-stressing from all the anxiety that being an adult brings. And the article concludes, while each of the gamers who spoke to Rolling Stone described different favorite games they consider deserving of the title, they're all hopeful that this new fascination with comfortable programs will create a space for the gaming industry to be less exclusionary. Gaming is very male-dominated, from the marketing to the aesthetics of gaming peripherals to which game publishers actually choose to put money behind, Kennedy says. There's been a stigma in gaming around cozy gaming, but now because there's this identity, there's this ownership over it and this pride around cozy gaming now. And I think that's a really important thing, especially for people who haven't been centered in gaming for all these years. I don't think you really need me to sit here and tell you that these stereotypes surrounding cozy gamers is dumb, right? It's an incredibly tired and old argument that these gamers are not real gamers and this community made up of mostly women only enjoy easy games that are like farming and life sims, and that they're generally just not legitimate gamers. But what I do want to talk about is how companies and devs have taken these assumptions about cozy gamers and ran with them. So let's go back to that TikTok that I showed at the beginning of the video that said cozy gaming is girly shovelware repackaged. I think this runs parallel to a lot of the popular discourse that's been happening in the cozy gaming community lately. The discourse being, we're tired of farming sims, we're tired of copycats of Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing. Give us something new and give us something fresh. Where there's a market, there's going to be people who take advantage of that. Obviously, we live in a capitalist society, and the result is having all these cozy copycat games produced in the last couple years. And here's what's really frustrating about that to me. Games that think that they can get away with marketing to the cozy gaming community as long as it fits some sort of like aesthetic or a certain genre or aligns closely to a certain genre with a half-assed product, because they think that cozy gamers aren't as good at analyzing and critiquing games as well as other types of gamers because of the aforementioned stereotypes around them. I think this is actually really funny timing because I saw that Tales of the Shire release this week and it got a 4 on IGN, and people are roasting the game for having a bunch of problems, and people were obviously excited because of the IP association and the aesthetic and all that, and they thought that they can get away with it. Also, can I just say that I don't have a problem at all with people who only play cozy games exclusively, but in my life personally, I don't think I've ever met anybody who only plays cozy games. Even gaming content creators where this is their whole niche, very rarely do they only play cozy games. And this is just the reality of what cozy gamers actually are. They are very multifaceted gamers out in the real world. The cozy gaming community isn't some isolated community that's just like separate from everything else. It's overlapping with all types of genres and games within gaming. Cozy gaming is more of a feeling to me than anything. It's more about the desire to feel a certain feeling out of the games that you play. So I think cozy gaming as like a label has kind of developed into a little bit of a double-edged sword for me. First and foremost, I think that cozy gaming is a marketing term, because think of all the games out there that claim that they are a cozy game and they put this in their like little Steam description or in their like ad. You already kind of start to imagine what kind of game this is. It's a catch-all term that vaguely kind of signals to you what kind of game it could be. Maybe it has a really colorful aesthetic. Maybe it's a life simulation game. Maybe there are social aspects or community to it. A pretty low stress game perhaps that has no violence in it. It vaguely implies and signals what the game could be, but leaves you guessing enough that you stay curious about it while also targeting a certain demographic of players. And again, addressing the fact that it may enforce certain gender stereotypes. While I don't disagree with the quotes that I mentioned in that article earlier about the cozy gaming community empowering women and giving them space within the gaming community that was always male dominated, I think it can be used as a way to enforce certain gender stereotypes about what games are meant for women. The more and more I think about the idea of cozy gaming, the more I feel like I lose its meaning, because I also think about the games that aren't typically considered cozy, but some people will claim that they're some of the most coziest games ever made. I know so many people who would think that Baldur's Gate 3 is very extremely cozy, and it's definitely one of my cozy games as well. My partner will argue that World of Warcraft is the ultimate cozy game. I am on record saying that Resident Evil 4 Remake is unironically my cozy game. I said that to Kevin, that Resident Evil games are like my comfort games, and he just like straight up did not understand. It's a comfort game, right? It's nice to conquer it and then it becomes familiar and comforting. That's exactly how I feel right now on my hardcore run with all my gear and stuff. It's like very like cozy. And these games go against a lot of what people typically consider cozy gaming to be. Some of these games can be extremely violent. They are not always aesthetically beautiful, and they can be stressful in pretty challenging ways that are not always about an anxiety-free experience. So in trying to rack my brain around this, I think that cozy gaming started to become everything and anything, that it's pretty much like a nothing burger for me. Also, I just want to make a note that I'm not trying to like invalidate the cozy gaming community in any way. I myself identify as a cozy gamer. If you look at my earliest YouTube videos that really took off, they are all Animal Crossing New Horizons videos, and I was making a ton of videos on this game that you could argue birthed this whole like cozy gaming thing in the first place. The point I'm trying to make is that while I recognize that the cozy gaming community is a very legitimate and distinguishable community within gaming, I think the idea or the concept or the label that this community surrounds itself or centers itself around is becoming a little bit more confusing and gray to me as someone who still identifies as part of that community. So I think we can get away from the question of what exactly cozy gaming is or what are some cozy games to what makes a game cozy to you. I like this question better, even though the two questions are very similar, because it kind of becomes more personal and allows people to give a really personal answer as to why a game might be comforting to you or cozy to you. And I think it's really nice to learn about what aspects of a certain game is like comfortable or cozy to a certain person, because I find that these answers are very tailored and unique to each person's experience, and it kind of shows what they value or what is special within these games to each person. So going back to my example of using Resident Evil 4 Remake, the reason why I find this game cozy is because I think I've always felt like the Resident Evil franchise was home. When I was a kid, I used to go to my friend's house and they had a PlayStation, and we often played Resident Evil 2 together. And because of that, I think I associated the Resident Evil franchise just with being a kid, and not just being a kid, but being able to experience that game in that setting. So I imagine my mom enjoying a beer with her friend while the kids played together in front of the TV, and they didn't understand anything that was going on and were just scared, but we had a lot of fun nonetheless. And it's just a comforting, nostalgic memory to think about. Similarly with Resident Evil 4, the original, I remember being in my childhood home and watching my brother play, which was one of my favorite things to do as a kid. Now playing Resident Evil 4 Remake as an adult, I am simultaneously brought back to when I played Resident Evil at my friend's house and watching my brother play at my childhood home, but at the same time being able to craft my own experience with it. And after beating it once, I think it became much more of a comfort thing to me, of where I can expect the certain sequences of the game, and that just became like a fun thing for me while healing my inner child, having these nostalgic feelings. So these are all the reasons why this game became like a cozy game to me. It has nothing to do with the genre, the level of violence, the level of stress that the game gives me. It really just had to do with transporting me to a different time and playing through a game that I just have a lot of love for the franchise for. I know that my partner who plays World of Warcraft feels pretty similarly in the same way. He grew up with World of Warcraft, and when Classic came out, it became like his ultimate game that he would play every single day, and it still is like his comfort game today that he claims is extremely cozy. Sometimes he'll throw on music and just go fishing. For him, I know that the polygon graphics, the aesthetics of that is comforting to him and cozy to him because it takes him back to that time. And conversely, I think about how a lot of like the typical cozy games are actually not that cozy to a lot of people. I actually am one of those people who didn't play a lot of Stardew Valley because I actually became kind of overwhelmed at the prospect of building my farm, because I am a person who will invest a lot of time and energy into making like a pretty like home and like a beautiful farm and just like space. And I was like, oh my god, I kind of don't want to get into this because I know I will just get sucked into it and my perfectionism will kick in. So I actually feel like that led me to stop playing the game and not get super deep into it. And I know other people feel that way about like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing too. There's some people out there that feel that pressure to design their island a certain way and make it look pretty, and they just like feel like this is more of a stressful process rather than like an enjoyable creative process. So I think at this point we know that what is a cozy game is a highly subjective question that deserves a highly subjective answer depending on the person. So here's my personal definition of what a cozy game is. A cozy game isn't defined by a certain aesthetic or something that you can see. Rather, it's a feeling that it evokes. These feelings can be a sense of belonging or home, nostalgia, healing your inner child, and comfort. To wrap up this video a bit, I think the future of cozy gaming is that I think the community is going to continue to grow and prosper as gaming in general just becomes bigger. And with every community comes its assumptions, and I think it's good to be mindful of these assumptions because with that curiosity, we can start to actually meet these people and learn about them and understand their desires. And maybe then can these companies stop serving us slop and shovelware and actually understand how multifaceted these people that make up these communities are. And maybe then can we start prioritizing more quality products. That's all I had to say on this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I feel like I really yapped in this one. As always, please leave your thoughts and comments below. I love to read through them, and maybe leave in like what your ultimate cozy game is. I would love to read about that. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!